Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey here, and this is Dad Cooking. I'm a dad and I like cooking. Now, we've got quite a project on tap for you today at Dad Cooking. Let's see. Today's recipe is called Sheet Pan Teriyaki Salmon and Vegetables. This is a real family favorite. This is a Skinny Taste recipe, and I want to give a shout out to Skinny Taste. A lot of our very best family recipes come from Skinny Taste. They're awesome. The food is delicious, and it fits right in line with what our goals are in terms of nutrition, macronutrients, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna make sheet pan teriyaki salmon and vegetables today. I'm gonna chat you up along the way, see if we can't figure out what we need to do to make this recipe happen. Join me, won't you? So as we get underway here, I want to let you know that I just had to invite my little four-legged buddy Bailey into the kitchen for this. Bailey is one of our two Labradoodles. He's the chocolate one, and you might hear his squeaking intermittently. He's got a little squeaky toy over there that he loves. He is just the most wonderful, fantastic little guy. He's just over a year old. Bailey bears the distinction of having been delivered to the earth from his mother with my hands. I brought this dog into the world. His mom, Josie, is my dog also, and she's in the other room. She likes to chill out. We call her our cat dog because she's almost more like a cat than a dog. She goes and she chills out. She comes over to get some affection. She does enjoy walking around outside and romping around, which makes her a little bit more dog-like. But Bailey's here with us. I'm gonna walk you through the steps of this delicious video, and hopefully it will yield a great dinner. So the first thing here is we need 8 cups of broccoli. I've got Eat Smart broccoli florets. These have been thoroughly washed, and there are 2 crowns of broccoli in one bag, according to the label here. Just got my trusty kitchen scissors, and I've got my measuring cup. I like these broccoli florets. These are well cut up. Sometimes I'll get like a big giant bag of Eat Smart, and the florets are big. These are nice and small. I don't have to chop them, so it's gonna go faster. There's one. Now, as I get this together, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not opposed to loading up on broccoli. Like, these are not just cups that I'm leveling off the top. Like, oh, it's a cup. You can see it's a big heaping cup of broccoli. Because, you know, there's little gaps in there. I got to fill them in with extra broccoli. That's 2. Now, I've made this dish a bunch of times. This is the first time doing it for Dad Cooking. And I got to tell you, sometimes I lose count of my broccoli cups. That's 3. So I'm going to keep this clip rolling until all my broccoli is ready. I got 3 cups of broccoli right there. This is the 4th cup of broccoli, and this is really great. You know why? Because my heaping cup of broccoli, as you can see, I've gone through 1 whole pack of Eat Smart broccoli florets, and I got 4 cups of broccoli. The recipe calls for 8. So rather than having to measure and count this, I'm probably just gonna dump it in and say, hey, there's our 8 cups of broccoli right there. What do you think about that? All right. Uh-oh. These were some bigger florets. Kids don't like the florets too big. I like them when they're smaller because they cook a little softer and they're not quite as fibrous. But this is probably gonna not be as tough as the broccolini that we made earlier in the week. I'm going with it. I got 8 cups of broccoli. I'm moving on. And I'll tell you why I'm so keen to move on here in just a sec. So the reason why I'm so keen to move on, this is a little bit of an unusual episode of Dad Cooking. I'm cooking earlier in the day than I normally do. And the reason is that we've got a crazy busy afternoon schedule today. And so I started cooking earlier so we could finish cooking earlier and then do the soccer and the orthodontist and the landscaping guy and all this stuff. So part of what I want to talk to you today about in Dad Cooking is priorities. How do you know when it's the right time to do certain kinds of things? Like, why did I decide to cook now instead of order Chipotle tonight? There's a whole bunch of reasons for this. But right now, I'm focused on the next phase of Dad Cooking, and that's Pero Family Farms mini sweet peppers. I need to get 40 of these peppers halved and de-seeded for this recipe. De-seeded, unseeded. I gotta get the seeds out of these peppers. And this is a detail-oriented process, and we are pressed for time. So I'm gonna go about my business here. And I mentioned in the kickoff of Dad Cooking that I'm a little bit peculiar with my chopping and stuff. You're gonna see a little bit more of that on display here. Let me get this going, and then I'll show you what I'm looking at, and then we'll get to work, okay? Okay, so if you can see here, I got 3 colors of peppers, and this is actually really cool because I need 40 peppers, and what I really earnestly try to do is get an equal number of different colored peppers in the recipe because I like balance, I like colors, I like to see my recipe pop. Now, a lot of times there's a problem because it's like the bag will be overloaded with red peppers, but you can see here today that there are these beautiful yellow peppers, great big ones that are in this bag. And I'm really excited about this because usually I'm scrounging for yellow peppers or I don't have enough, but these are beautiful yellow peppers. And the red ones, well, look at this big orange one here. I like big peppers. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8, and I'm gonna set these aside because I might be able to get some bigger orange ones here. I got 8, and really I need is 13. I need 13 of each. 9, 10. Uh-oh. Am I looking at some, this pepper doesn't look that good. Fishing. 11. Oh, the orange ones. What's this? Is this a good one? Nope. Okay. Here we go. 12, 13. There's my orange. Now the red ones, these are good round. Look at these yellow peppers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Exactly 13. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 red ones there. But I bet you I got some bigger red ones here. There's always more red than anything else. All right, so I got 3 here. Are there 3 smaller? There's 1. There's 2. And, well, this one, it's about the same. All right, let's go with 14. We got a nice big red one here. Yeah, here's a big one. Fish right down to the bottom. All right, so look, I've got equal numbers of peppers. I'm really psyched. And what I'll do is I'll take these leftover peppers at some point during the week and repurpose them. You know, if you've watched Chopped or any of these shows on the Food Network, they're always repurposing food and whatnot. So I'm gonna save these peppers. Probably later in the week, what I'll do is I'll make roasted peppers and onions, and that'll be great. For now, I got my peppers for this dish. Okay, so now that I have these peppers, I need to have them and seed them. So I'll just take the top off. I cut lengthwise right down the middle. And then usually what I can do is just kind of pull the seeds with the brains out with this white part. My mom told me they call that the brains of the pepper. I don't know if that's true, but I call it that. And now I got my pepper brains and my seeds over here. And I just put them in my bowl. And this is, I'm really excited right now because I am making great progress. This is a complicated dish with a lot of steps. There's a marinade that needs to happen. Usually my wife will get involved in this dish, and she yet may, even though she is not really an on-camera cast member of Dad Cooking. She is critically important to the whole operation, as you can imagine. And now you can see with my, I talk about my cutting. This is how I have and seed my peppers. And this is working pretty good right now. I'm gonna end this clip and chat with you a little bit while I chop these peppers. Hey gang, so Bailey's here. I'm sure you can hear him. And a quick word about my wife, who's actually upstairs putting my daughter down for a nap right now. She's the real cook of the family. I'm more like the prep cook. Sometimes I'll seize an opportunity to do the actual cooking, but family life is really kind of a team sport. And in our family, we like to do things together. We like to share responsibilities. And we also like to cook a lot, and we like to eat really healthy food. My wife is a huge contributor to that. And she's the one who almost always makes this dish. I prep it, she cooks it. But the schedule today may thrust me into the role of cook, which always fills me with delight, because this is dad cooking. It's not dad prepping. And I'll tell you, if I were doing a show called Dad Prepping, it would look a lot different from this. It would be me digging holes in my backyard and filling it with MREs and pickle jars and this kind of stuff. But I'm not prepping, I'm cooking. And today we're cooking sheet pan teriyaki salmon with vegetables. So I'm just getting through the yellow peppers here, and I got a lot of peppers to go. And I'm gonna be back with you as I move through my peppers. Hey, what's up everybody out there in YouTube land? Jeffrey here with Dad Cooking. I'm moving on to the red peppers. And as I chop the red peppers, I would like to give a shout out to my friends at Publix. All of the ingredients, well, actually, not all of the ingredients, but most of the ingredients that we're using in this dish today were bought at Publix. And no episode of Dad Cooking would be complete without me referencing the stores where we go to buy our ingredients, and a little bit of a shout out to the folks who work there in particular. And we shop at a lot of different grocery stores. Publix is the one that we shop at the most. And the reason why we shop at it the most is because it's the closest to our house. We got, this is sheet pan salmon and vegetables. And we got the salmon at Aldi. Aldi is this great grocery store. A lot of you probably know what Aldi is. Their salmon is like $8.99 a pound. And Publix's salmon, ever since the pandemic and inflation started to drive prices up, their salmon is like 14 or 15 bucks a pound. So we get high quality salmon from Aldi for way less than we can get it at Publix. I'll go into Aldi and that's the only thing I buy. Like, all right, we need salmon, I'm going to Aldi. And I don't always get my salmon at Aldi because the other store that we shop at sometimes is Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's also has great salmon, and they've got all kinds of other great stuff, but they're much further from the house. Trader Joe's is probably our favorite place to get groceries, but it's also the furthest from the house. So we go there the least. Ooh, this is an interesting pepper. So the thing about Aldi, which is funny, is when I go shopping, I have a list of stuff that I want to get, and I almost never stray from the list. Like, I'm going to buy what's on my list, and that's it. My wife, when she goes, she'll go like shopping for food, where she's like, oh, this looks interesting, I want to try this or that. And she'll come home with all this stuff, and I'll be like, well, what's all this stuff? And it was funny because we went to go get this salmon at Aldi, and the kids were all in the car. It was after we'd been to Publix, and we were trying to go fast, and I was tired. And we pulled up at Aldi, and she's like, well, one of us should probably just run in. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. Leave the kids in the car, uncomplicate things a little bit. Have the other parents stay in the car with the kids. We're not parents who leave our kids in the car. This is not the 70s. And so my wife, she says to me, well, if I go in, it'll probably take longer because I won't just buy the salmon. And I was like, I'm going in. And I got right into Aldi and I got my salmon. And here we are, we're cooking it today. So I'm gonna finish chopping these red peppers. See you in a minute. All right, so welcome back. I'm onto the orange peppers now. The colors of these peppers are really vibrant. They're popping today. I mentioned the word priorities before. I was having a conversation with someone in my life about this late last week. It's important to align priorities and to undertake actions that square with what's important. I'll give you a couple of examples. This weekend, we had an outing planned for our family, and I had to decide whether to wake up real early and get an extra workout in or sleep in a little bit and still get a small workout, but make sure that I was rested and healthy for this outing we had planned. And I chose to sleep in and get less of a workout. I feel great. I'm feeling very fit. I've been very disciplined with my workouts. And I knew I wanted to get some kind of workout in. But to wake up extra early on a day we had an outing, I felt like it was overkill. So I prioritized my rest. I was happy about that decision. So then, when I was actually working out, I had to figure out, well, what am I going to do after this workout? I can push it and try to get that extra exercise in. Or, in all the things I had in my life, one of the things was my other dog, my second dog, Josie, she hadn't been for a walk. And the reason why she didn't go out with me and Bailey is because she's been sleeping with our son. So I don't want to wake him up. She gets sort of like her own little walk. It also works for me because I like walking around outside. I like walking my dogs. And Bailey and I, we go walking. Most days we go walking before sunrise. But Josie comes for the walk in the early morning when the sun is up with the whole family. And it's great. I get this starlit dog walk with Bailey. I get the sunrise dog walk with Josie and the family. And the day we had the outing, I said, you know what? The most important thing here is Josie, because she needs to go for a walk. We're going to be out all day. She's going to be cooped up and she needs her exercise. So I took Josie for a walk just with my sons. It was a little bit of a shortened walk, but I felt good because Josie's well-being as a member of our family was the priority in that case. And so much of what we do and what we choose to do throughout the day is a matter of priorities. And this dad cooking episode is an example of that. I've chosen to prioritize cooking this dish over everything else that I could be doing this afternoon because my family is the most important thing in my life. And if I want to make sure that everyone is eating well, that we're getting where we need to go on time, and that we're going to bed at a reasonable hour, this dish has got to be cooked before the soccer practice and the orthodontist appointment and the landscaping guy and everything else that's going on. And that's my monologue about priorities. So as we say here at Dad Cooking, the cooking is probably just like half the battle. The prepping and the cleaning are huge portions of the battle. And I was just about to try to dump this huge tray of pepper tops and seeds, and I almost dumped it all over my pantry, and I was like, yee, I better find a better way. And I'm using my old bag here to just take all this food waste. There's probably people out there who are going to say, man, you can't just discard that food waste. It's going to go to the landfill and transfer into methane, and you're contributing to harmful emissions in the atmosphere. Maybe so. That's probably true. But I don't have a garden back here. I can't compost this stuff. My wife and I are always talking about making a garden. If I had a garden, I would get a lot of worms. And I got this funny worm story about how when I was in 6th grade, I did this science project that was all about worms. And I grew sets of plants, some of which had worms and some of which didn't. And the plants that had worms in the pot grew like 10 times as fast as the ones without. 10x may be an exaggeration, but they grew way faster. And ever since then, I love worms. If I ever made a garden, I would have a lot of worms in it, and also probably compost and make really healthy soil. But I don't have that. I don't have a garden. I'm not planting anything. Just got to dispose of this food waste. Sorry to you environmentalists and earth firsters. There's lots of other things that we do to reduce our carbon footprint here. Okay, we're back. And there's a lot going on here. I'm moving on to the fish prep portion of this dish. The sheet pan teriyaki salmon and vegetables would not be complete without the salmon, which I bought at Aldi. And you can see this delicious piece of salmon here. I'm going to put this to the side. Now, I love to get the skin off my salmon. And my wife is always like, you don't have to peel the skin off that salmon. You don't have to cut it off. We can cook it with the salmon. It's fine. Something about it just makes me want to just get the skin off. I'm not eating the skin. Kids sometimes see the skin. They're like, skin. It takes me a couple extra minutes to get the skin off. But I enjoy the experience of eating the fish without the skin better. Now, when we used to get our fish at Publix, There's this really nice woman who worked at the fish counter who used to cut the skin off for us. And all the people at Publix would cut the skin off, but the woman who did it, she was like fast and efficient with it. And the guy who did it was like wicked slow. And I'd be standing there waiting for him to get the skin cut off, and the kids would start going crazy. And so when the woman was there, I was always happier. And she was so great. She would like help me figure out how much fish I needed so that it weighed right after the skin was cut off. And then one day, I went to the fish counter, and there was this young kid back there. I'd never seen him before. And I was like, yeah, we need 3 pounds of salmon. Can you take the skin off for me? And he kind of looked at me with this look in his face like, really? You want me to take the skin off for you? And I watched him. He just pulled the skin off. He didn't take a knife. He just yanked it off. And that's what I'm doing. I'm yanking this skin right off. Boom. Now this piece was just about a pound of fish. I got that skin right off. There's always like a little bit extra that comes off. You can see I got salmon goo on my hands, but I also have a really nice de-skinned piece of salmon. Now, this is gonna be a little tricky. I don't really feel like handling my phone with this salmon goo on my hands. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands and then pause the video. Hey dudes, Jeffrey here. We're back with Dad Cooking. A couple things. First of all, my wife and I just had this extended conversation in between my fish skin peeling. And it was a really interesting conversation we had. We're implementing allowance for our kids. And there's like an app we got that goes along with it. We were determining what some of their chores were, how we want to frame it with them. Fascinating stuff. And, part of Dad Cooking is actually dadding, because I'm a dad. And there's all kinds of dad stuff that goes on in my life, and I like to talk about it. I'm kind of reflecting on it a little bit. And I'm sure that my massive audience is gonna have feedback from me in the comments. All the terrific parents out there on the internet watching my show will be like, well, maybe you ought to try it this way. Or maybe they'll be like, you're a doofus, Jeffrey. Do it better. So we'll see what people say. But the bottom line is, my wife had to leave the house. She's got a doctor's appointment, and now the dad cooking is all on me. I'm gonna do all the dad cooking. We're gonna see this recipe from start to finish, and these are the magical moments that truly define dad cooking. So let's move forward. I got my fish all washed over here. I can pivot around to show you. I got my fish cleaned. I'm gonna pat it dry. I've got some garlic and ginger to do, but we're gonna make a marinade. We're gonna roast and toss some vegetables. I got the oven preheating over there. There's a lot of stuff that happened in between the last cut and now that are gonna set us up for the next phase of this. Please, dear God, help me get this right. My family's dinner depends on it. Wow, so much going on in my kitchen for this episode of Dad Cooking. The best laid plans of Dad do often come to naught. And I'm running a tight schedule here today as I try to deliver this dish to my family before I have to take my son to soccer. And it's not just my son, my 7-year-old. It's my daughter. I've got to take her with me to soccer. And if I can execute, I'll also spare my wife from having to do any cooking this afternoon, and she'll just get to come to soccer from the orthodontist and hang out with us there. The best outcome here is if I can finish this dish before soccer. And I'm on a tight schedule because not only do I want to get this done, but I also want to take care of myself and some other things that I have. So I sort of have this artificial deadline of 3 o'clock that I'm trying to get everything in the oven by. And I just had a little setback. Apparently, somebody spilled some honey in the pantry back there. I have a sneaking suspicion that it may have been my 10-year-old. He has been delving into some cooking of his own lately. We got him a cooking subscription from a company called Radish, Raddish, 2 words, Radish. And Radish is really fantastic. We like to get our kids experiences for gifts rather than things because they remember the experiences But what we found over the years is that the things, a lot of them have very little value to our kids. They have so many things. I mean, we do pretty well over here, and our kids have a lot of toys and a lot of stuff, and a lot of it just gets broken or cast aside or piled up. There's not a lot of value there, but the experiences they really value. So we got him this radish kit, and he's been baking, and we've been eating the stuff he bakes. It's fantastic. But he also goes noodling around in the pantry, and he may have spilled some honey. So I had to do some cleanup work in there. Could have been me that spilled the honey. I'm known to spill the honey, and it's probably flawed thinking to just assume it was my 10-year-old. I may very well have carelessly left the honey opened. Could have been my wife, could have been anybody. My 10-year-old, God bless him, he's such a wonderful little fellow. He's, he's 10. So sometimes he's a little careless with the honey lid or whatever other accoutrements kind of get knocked around in there. That's how he is. And I love him just the way he is. So I'm chopping the garlic here for this. I'm getting ready to marinate my salmon. And when I get the salmon on the marinade, then I'm going to be in a phase where I'm going to roast some of these vegetables. So this is going to happen fast. And I'm going to have some more comments about this dish in a minute. All right, friends, we're in uncharted waters here. I have never progressed in this recipe past the point where I am right now. Everything has been prepped, but now I have to cook it. And so I tell my 10-year-old who got his radish kit, the key to successful cooking is to just follow the directions. And it's really funny because I make that sound so simple. Following directions isn't always easy. It's not always easy for a 10-year-old boy, and it's not always easy for dad either. So I'm going to look at this and try to decipher it and see if I can't figure out how to do this. Now, what this says is to mix the marinade in a bowl and then put it into a bag with the salmon. But what my wife told me is that she just mixes it in the bag and puts the salmon right in the bag and skips the whole bowl and the mixing part. And I'm going to go out on a limb and just listen to my wife. And this is dad cooking. This is my thing. I have got to look my audience squarely in the eye and say, so many of the very best things that have ever happened to me in my life have just been when I stop myself and step outside of my own ego for long enough to just listen to what my wife is saying to me. She's so smart and she's so wise and so caring. And sometimes I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then other times I'm like, wait a minute. This person, of all the people on earth, cares about what happens to me. She's elevating my interest. She wants what's best for me. Just, shelve your ego and listen to her. And maybe that's a little bit of an overstatement when it comes to marinating fish in a bag, but I'm going with it. Okay, so I have my bag. Now what I need in this bag, see some of these bags, they make them where they stand up. This is not one of those bags. And it could lead to some trouble. Got my handy dandy spoons, my magnetic measuring spoons. All right, let's see. I got 4 teaspoons of sesame oil. Now what I'll say is, here's a teaspoon. Oh, my half tablespoon still over there for when I ate my peanut butter earlier. What I'm gonna say about the teaspoon, about this is, I've got 1.x the amount of fish in this dish. So I'm gonna 1.5x my marinade too. How am I gonna get this to stand up? I probably would be better off with the bowl. You know what? Oh look, I got the bag to stand, at least for now. I'm gonna do 6 tablespoons of this sesame oil. One thing I learned from my failed attempt to launch Dad Cooking about 2 months ago is that it never pays to count out loud what I'm measuring. I think that was 4. But if I don't count it out loud, I lose count. All right, that's 6 tablespoons of this teaspoons of the sesame oil. Now 4 garlic cloves, I turned into 6. And a lot of times I'll do more garlic than the recipe calls for, But because of the time crunch today, I'm gonna stick with the recipe. Or as I tell my sons, follow the directions. All right, so I got garlic. Now I need 2 teaspoons of grated ginger. And a lot of times I'll grate the ginger by hand, but my wife says that this squeezy tube of ginger from Gourmet Garden, which we bought at Publix, is actually just as good as the grated ginger. I can't imagine that it is, but it's definitely about 50 times faster. So 2 teaspoons of grated ginger is going to turn into 3. There's 1. There's 2. I like ginger. And there's 3. If my daughter was here, I'd have her sniffing all of this stuff. She loves to sniff the ingredients. The ginger, the garlic, sesame oil. Who wouldn't love to sniff that stuff? Oh, now I got ginger on my hand. All right. So, let's see. 8 tablespoons of reduced sodium soy sauce. Travel with me as I journey to a more effective measuring implement, my trusty 2 tablespooner. This orange guy is the boon of my kitchen. And here's my sesame oil. It's International Collection Toasted Sesame Oil. I better put the cap on that before I have an opportunity to blame my son for spilling it when I'm the guy who spills it. All right, so 8 tablespoons. Soy sauce, my orange is my 7-year-old's favorite color. I love this orange tablespoon. All right, we're gonna do 4 of these. This is not a good situation because I'm holding it with my left hand. And I am not left-handed. As Inigo Montoya once told the Dread Pirate Roberts, AKA Wesley, I am not left-handed. I am right-handed. There we go. Uh-oh, I sense a slight tilt in the bag as I pour the soy sauce. This is the last one. So 8, but we're time and a halfing it, so we're gonna go with 12. My math skills are on point, my friends. There's 10. All right, here we go. This is gonna be a great marinade. This is gonna be a wonderful dish, you guys. All right, getting this marinade in the bag. Now I need rice vinegar. Wait. Yeah, vinegar. So I got my Nakano Organic Natural Rice Vinegar here. That's a teaspooner. It calls for 4, so I need 6 of these. Okay, I think that's 6. This is a long clip of me mixing this marinade. Usually I like to break it up and mix it up. This is gonna be a long video. All right, the last one is the brown sugar. Okay, here's the brown sugar. Now, it was with the brown sugar that I discovered that the honey was out of whack, and I don't wanna dip the measuring spoon that I've had. So if we're looking for 4 teaspoons of brown sugar, that means 6, and that means 3. No, it's not gonna be enough. I'm gonna wash this and then do it like that. Hey, out there in YouTube land, it's Jeffrey here with Dad Cooking, and I gotta do 6 teaspoons of brown sugar here in this marinade. Listen, you know, I know I can edit this. I know I can cut it the way that I want. I'm kind of just shooting from the hip here. And what I want to say is I'm brand new to this. I'm brand new to content creation. That's 3. I'm brand new to cooking a dish like this. And I'm having a lot of fun spending time doing something I love, which is taking care of my family. I don't know if that was 4 or 5. I'm gonna do 2 more just because you can never have too much brown sugar, right? But I'm gonna make mistakes along the way. And one thing about me, the people who know me, mostly the people in the audience for these early dad cooking videos, they know I'm always trying to do things to get myself better. So if I'm making a video and there are parts of it that are dragging on, or it's silent, or I'm counting my measuring spoons or whatever, Things will get better here at Dad Cooking, but I'm doing the best I can. I think my marinade is done. I'm gonna double check it, and then we'll see about adding the fish. You guys, this is really amazing. I am really doing this right now. All right, I got my marinade here. I got my bowl of salmon, and I'm just gonna drop the fish in here one by one. Now, you can see what we're doing here. We got salmon, broccoli, peppers, all these ingredients in the marinade. This is gonna be a really terrific dish for my family. I love this dish. And, you know, a lot of people have a lot of philosophy about cooking, and I'll probably get into it as I mature in my Dad Cooking production. But I feel strongly that when you cook for yourself and you cook with love for the people that you're cooking for, that you get a better output, that your dish becomes better, and the people who are enjoying it love it, and they appreciate it, and they appreciate you. So I'm delighted to share this dish with my family, and I'm delighted to share the process with you. Now you can see here that there's like salmon in a bag that's marinating, and I'm gonna let it sit, and I'm gonna flip it over, but my next move is gonna be the vegetables. And I'm gonna have to like clean up a little bit, because cleaning is part of Dad Cooking. But then I'm gonna have to toss these vegetables. I'm gonna prepare some trays and roast them. And I don't think I'm gonna have this dish done by 3, but I am gonna have it done before soccer, which is really the goal. So I'm really, really excited about the way things are going. Join me as we work to finish it up, okay? Hey, you guys, Jeffrey here. I'm in a little bit of a, it's sort of like halftime here at Dad Cooking, although I'm closer to the end than to the beginning. I'm taking a minute to clean, and I've been cooking and cleaning. I've got a pretty clean landing zone here for what I'm about to wash. And I just want to say, so much of what I do during Dad Cooking is cleaning. And if you're watching this and you are also a cook, and so you found this and you're like, hey, what's this guy doing? He's Dad Cooking. What's he talking about? I just want to say to all the cooks out there who cook in their own kitchen, who don't have an audience, or they feel like they're overworked and underappreciated, and maybe their kids don't like their cooking, or, you know, the ratio of prepping and cooking and cleaning versus eating is like way out of whack. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you're going through. And I hope that there are people who appreciate the work that you're doing. Because this kind of stuff is not easy. It's not that much fun. It's thankless. You know, people just assume, oh yeah, it's gonna get cleaned up. The kids, they don't know what's going on. But I know. And so if you're watching this and you're like, here's a guy with Dad Cooking who's taking a minute to show himself washing dishes and express appreciation for all the hardworking moms and dads out there who cook and clean and take care of everything for their families, I appreciate you a lot. I identify with you. I see you out there. And this show is really for you. So I hope you're enjoying what we're doing here. I hope you can benefit from some of the recipes that we're using, some of the tips we're sharing, some of the dad wisdom, or as I like to call it, daddy wisdom that I share. Because a lot of the times the daddy wisdom, you know, sometimes the kids are like, oh, Dad, oh, and other times they're like, here we go, daddy wisdom. Anyway, I'm just out here doing my thing. I've procrastinated enough by washing the dishes for my last phase. Now I gotta prep these vegetables and get them in the oven. So much going on here. What up, gang? Jeffrey here. Hey, so now I've gotta get these vegetables going and roast them in the oven. This is all happening really fast. And it's really cool because it's right about 3 o'clock, and that's smoothie time for me. I'm gonna cook a smoothie up over here, and one day I'm gonna do a little short video about how I do a smoothie, but that's not gonna be today. What I gotta do is get all these vegetables together. So I got my beautiful peppers and my broccoli here. I gotta combine them. And this is an issue because this bowl, like I'm gonna have to take off my watch to make this next little bit happen. And probably what I should do is like do this in batches. Like do it, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it in batches. So I'm gonna take like half my peppers over here. I'm gonna take half my broccoli and put it in here. This is why they pay me the big bucks. Let me tell you. I'm gonna break this up into 2 separate bowls because what you can't see here is that I have 2 trays, and this is about the same amount in each bowl. And this is just great. So I'm gonna do one bowl here, and I'm gonna do 1 bowl there, and then I'll do tray by tray. What do we got? We got sesame oil, 4 total tablespoons, right? So I can do 2 here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. You guys, I just averted a disaster. That was not sesame oil. That was organic rice vinegar, which I used in my marinade alongside the sesame oil. I nearly dumped 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar on my vegetables, which would not have been a good thing. Now I've got the sesame oil. Okay, so 2 tablespoons of sesame oil here. Just gonna drizzle that here. Just run it right over. And 2 tablespoons of sesame oil here, because I split it up, right? And I'm not gonna add any oil to this because we are tracking our food, we're journaling it, we're tracking macros, and I don't need any extra sesame oil mucking up my recipe, all right? Now, I'm gonna put this over here. Next is kosher salt. Now the salt, it calls for 1 teaspoon. Now I'm one of these guys, I really believe that they undersell some things across the board in recipes, and salt is one of those things. Garlic is another one. I like garlic and I like salt. And I told you before on Dad Cooking, my doctor says I'm not in any kind of danger of having too much salt. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 1 teaspoon of kosher salt on each of these bowls and make it nice and salty. Kosher salt, as my wife likes to say, is a little bit more forgiving than sea salt or any other kind of iodized salt, table salt, what have you. So I don't think that I can really over salt this too much. Now this also says black pepper to taste. I like black pepper, I love it. My kids are not as keen on it as I am, but I'm gonna match my salt and pepper. So 1 teaspoon on each is how I'm gonna play this. I think that's cool, right? A little symmetry with the salt and pepper. That ought to do. Oh, I'm almost out of pepper. I'm running low on pepper. All right, here we go. There's enough pepper here. Okay. Now I'm gonna stir this all up. Now, here's another advantage that my wife has on me, or maybe she's, she's playing the game a little bit better than me. She likes to glove up for this. Like she'll put on some gloves and get her hands in there. I just like to kind of get my hands there. I'm gonna take my watch off so I don't get oil and salt and pepper in the crannies of my awesome watch. And now I'm gonna mix this stuff up like this and just sort of coat my whole, I'm gonna coat my whole veggie pile with oil. I'll put this one aside. And salt and pepper. I better wipe that up before Bailey comes over here and starts snuffling around with oil and salt and pepper. Okay, this looks pretty good. Come over here and do it for this. Now, 1 tray had the broccoli on top, or 1 bowl had the broccoli on top, and the other bowl had the peppers on top. I think the bowl that had the peppers on top is probably gonna spread a little better, but this is looking pretty good. These peppers that were under this broccoli are getting good coverage with the oil and the salt and pepper, so I think we're in pretty good shape. Now, what is really awesome about this is that I don't have to worry about it spilling over. I don't have to worry about it dividing up. I'm just gonna pour this out on my tray. I'm gonna show you what this looks like before I put it in. I got some nice veggies on this tray. I'm gonna pour this out over here. Oh, this big Red Bowl had more veggies in it, so I'm gonna balance off the tray. That's not really that much of a surprise, but it wasn't really that bad. It was really like maybe just a handful or half a handful of extra veggies. All right, I'm gonna show you what this looks like before I put it in. I got oil and salt and pepper on my hands. I got a dirty counter full with prepping ingredients, but this is coming along. I'm really cooking this dish. Give me a minute to wash up and then I'll show you what it looks like. So take a look. Look at that. These are my trays of vegetables. They've got the oil and the salt and pepper on them. And they're gonna roast in the oven. And then we're gonna put the fish in there and cook it some more. Look at that. It's just absolutely gorgeous the way those colors are popping off that tray. Let's see what it says. 10 minutes in the oven. So this is gonna go by pretty quick. I'm gonna let the camera roll. Here. Point it right at the oven. Let's get these in. Here's one. Here's two. 10 minutes. Fantastic. You guys, I'm really doing it. I'm making this dish. I'm gonna flip my fish so that the marinade coats evenly. And it's gonna get another 10 minutes to sit in the marinade. Oh, this is great. There's like a whole step here where I gotta make the marinade thicken so I can pour it over there. Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. All right, you guys, I'm gonna take a little break while these veggies are cooking. I'm gonna get my smoothie ready and I'm gonna have my smoothie. I'm so excited. Join me as we finish this dish. All right, we are counting down to the completion of the veggie phase here. All right, we got an issue because I turned this on. I don't have it on yet, but let's see. All right, we got the veggies. Beautiful. They've been roasting for 10 minutes out of the pump. Now what we want to do, what the directions say, is to toss them. Got to toss these veggies around. Make sure they're not sticking in one place, sticking on the pan or anything. We just toss them around. Gonna flip them over a little bit, right? There's one tray. Now, we always find that the veggies let out some water, which is not ideal. And I also made a boneheaded dad mistake when I bought the wrong foil. And instead of the heavy duty foil, I bought the everyday foil. For you cooks and kitchen people out there, get the heavy duty foil. The everyday foil, it's almost like, why do they even make this everyday foil? Just give me the heavy duty and keep the everyday foil off the market. All right, now I gotta get this fish on there. I'm gonna recalibrate for this. So I gotta make room for my salmon here. I gotta kind of smush these veggies around and make room for salmon. I'm probably gonna wind up doing a lot of this by hand because there's a lot of veggies and a lot of salmon. And this is where, this is where I could really use my wife because she's really good at this and I've never done it before. So I've got my fish here. You can't see it, but they're gonna come in sort of one piece at a time. So I look to layer it in there. Now I think that there are 9 pieces of fish, which means I need 5 on one and 4 on the other. And it's easier said than done with this really well marinated salmon. I'm gonna kind of drop it in here and then look to move stuff around once it's in. And I've got to preserve as much of this sauce as I can because this sauce, we're gonna cook it and thicken it and make it an even nicer part of this dish. All right, because when the sauce gets nice and thick, it becomes awesome. All right, so I got all my fish out of there. I set that aside. Now my hand is covered in marinade, but what I got to do is kind of move stuff around and get this fish, get the veggies and the fish kind of all wrapped up around each other over here so that the fish is in a good position to cook when I put it back in the oven. Now this has gotten a little chaotic for me. I'm way ahead of schedule on this fish dish, but I'm behind on my smoothie. So I'm gonna try to whip up my smoothie while this fish is cooking. The recipe says cook it for 7 to 8 minutes. I think I'm gonna go for 9. Usually we slightly undercook it and have to put it back in. So I'm gonna hazard a guess and say if I can cook this for 9 minutes, it's gonna come out great. All right, let me wash my hands. I'll edit this down when it's all done, and we're gonna have some awesome sheet pan teriyaki salmon and vegetables when we're all done. All right, so here we go. It's going in the oven. Tray number 1 is going in. Tray number 2. Whoa. I'm getting my second oven mitt here. Not messing around. Tray number 2 is in. We're gonna go with 9 minutes. It's a little risky. We don't want to overcook the salmon, but there we go. We'll check back when it's done. You can see it. There's kind of a mean reflection over here, but the sauce is in the pan, and we're gonna let it thicken and stir it. And we're gonna get that sauce ready too. I'm so excited about this, you guys. This is really an amazing afternoon of dad cooking for me. Join me toward the end. All right, here we go. This is the test. Now, a lot of times the salmon is like slightly underdone. So what I like to do is pull it out and look to cut open a big piece to see if the big piece is cooked through. Now, I like my salmon a little flaky, but my family does not like it when it's underdone on the inside. So that's what we're looking for. Looks like a nice thick piece right here. It's just a tiny little bit underdone. The thickest piece there, just a tiny bit. We're gonna do 1 more minute and then it'll definitely be done. This is amazing. I had a little snack of some of the roasted Brussels sprouts I made the other day. And I'm getting my smoothie ready here as this thing just finishes up. You can hear me tapping my protein powder into my smoothie. Let's collect this. I gotta tell you, the impact of the honey is still being felt because the honey clearly spilled on my bottle of protein powder. Let's see. This is the piece I cut before. It's looking good. Sometimes I wonder if it looks good because I cut it and now it's more directly exposed to the heat, or if it's really done. So I'm gonna cut one more piece, a nice big thick one, just to test it. Oh yeah, perfect. This salmon is done, my friends. This is done. You guys, I am psyched. We've got 2 awesome trays of sheet pan teriyaki salmon and vegetables here. I'm gonna stir my sauce, make sure that's getting thick. I got my shake here, I had my snack. This is shaping up to be a great afternoon. I'm not sure if this is really gonna be the outro of this, so I'm gonna hold off on wrapping it up. But let's check on our sauce and then we'll see about wrapping it up. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Jeffrey here. You might notice that my clothes have changed. Things got so crazy yesterday during the end of Dad cooking that I did not shoot a proper outro to the experience. I will have you know that the sauce thickened up nicely on the stove. It took much longer than the recipe suggested that it would. We basted the salmon with the sauce, and we had a really, really wonderful dinner with that sheet pan teriyaki salmon and vegetables. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dad Cooking. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Dad Cooking. Share it with your friends. And please, for everyone out there, be safe, treat others with kindness, do great things, and I'll see you around.